Hey guys, we're back from vacation. Kind of a lot of catching up to do and a decent amount to fill you in on. So before we left, we threw one of Butter's fertilized eggs under our broody Dominique hen. And while we were gone, Ashley's dad decided to throw five more eggs under the broody hen. So we went from what was an experiment?
Yes, to us full-on breeding
to now it turns out we are breeding chickens.
So basically what happened, we came back, and I think the second day we were back, the first egg that I threw under ended up hatching, and we are very new and beginners to breeding chicks, and it looked like there was still some development in the other eggs, and our chicken was still being very broody. So we didn't know if we should separate them or keep them together, and we read so many things that were contradicting each other on the internet. So we decided the mom seemed very overprotective of the chicken, so maybe she might be okay. But when we got home from work, it looks like either the chick ended up somehow in the run and either didn't stay warm, or maybe the flock got to her. So we decided we're gonna need to separate the mom from the rest of the flock. So we had to get a new coop.
But yeah, so I ran to Tractor Supply and got this coop right here. It was one of their cheaper ones. The biggest issue is it doesn't have a floor, so I had to make a little makeshift floor and ramp. The chick quickly fell out of it anyways, and so now they're on the ground.
And so we had a new chick hatch, and then we ended up with 2 more yesterday that hatched.
Yeah.
And there's 2 eggs left. I kind of have a feeling like maybe they aren't fertilized, or maybe the timing just got off, because it doesn't look like the chicken's laying on them anymore. So we're gonna give those 2 eggs about 1 more week, and if there's nothing hatching, then we'll just go ahead and toss them.
Yep. So now we have a breeding coop.
Yeah. And we'll now show you the mess that is the garden, because
that also got very out of hand.
It got very out of hand very quickly over the 2 weeks we were gone. So things kind of exploded, and so did the pest and the amount of produce.
Yep.
So the flowers are still doing really well. I got the marigolds, the sunflowers are still up, some zinnias. I think this is bee balm. Everything bolted while I was gone, so all the basil, we had a really nasty storm while we were away, and we had one of the pine tree branch come and kind of crush this front side of the garden, which is crazy because the pine trees are back there. I've actually harvested a lot from this green pepper plant. You'll see these are our sour gherkin, which are currently blooming. There it is. Okay, so our sour gherkin is blooming, and we have a few little baby cucamelons. Here's some okra. Alright, here is the biggest issue I think I'm having in the garden right now. It is the loofah, which has come all the way over here. You'll see it goes all the way up. It came across 2 of my arched trellises. And it is spreading all over the garden. At this point, it is way too out of control for me to even figure out what I want to do with it. It is wrapping around and killing some of my tomato plants. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to wait and see what I want to do. I'm thinking I'm just gonna let it go. We had 5 or 6 buckets of cherry tomatoes that I harvested when I came back. Here's, I think this is a loofah gourd. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the top of this thing was blooming. There's my ground cherry patch, which is kind of getting out of control as well. Alright, so we do have a lot of Kajari melons. I did bag 2 of them so far. Here's the second one. And then there's a few more down here. So far we've harvested 3 Kajari melons, and I actually really enjoy the flavor. It is a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And then we've got these noodle beans. The other side of the loofah patch, I don't know if you can see, but it is crawling into the other side of the sunflowers. I don't know if you can see, all these pollinators are going crazy over the flowers. Here we have the corn stalks, which are getting really tall. Yeah, here's more loofah. Now, I only planted 2 or 3 loofah seeds, and this went crazy. So I'm definitely not going to put loofah near anything next year if I decide to even grow it again. But yeah, you can't even see my jalapeno. We've got a lot of jalapenos. We've gotten like 6 zucchini so far, and there's still a ton growing. Here's some more zucchinis. Now, some of our tomato labels washed away. I'm not really sure what some of these tomatoes are. I've also have this plant, which the label said Paul Robson. That's totally not a tomato, because look at this. That is some sort of squash. As I'm talking, there's pest on it. We've discovered that Alex doesn't like tomatoes, but yesterday I made him try the Chardonnay blush tomato, and he actually likes the flavor of this one. So we'll definitely grow this one again next year. Alright guys, these are all tomatoes. This is probably the most crazy section of the garden. I know tomatoes aren't supposed to touch the ground, but at this point, this late in the season, it being August now, we've gotten so many tomatoes, and we're starting to freeze them and try and make as many things as possible with tomatoes that I'm just kind of letting everything just go, because I can't keep up with this. I think I'm just overwhelmed at this point with what the garden's looking like. There's some ground cherries. This was a spaghetti squash. I'm not sure if it's going to survive because the leaves are kind of wilting. These are carrots. When I left, there were the caterpillars all over the carrots. So I think our black nebula carrots kind of died off. But yeah, we'll see what happens with these. I don't know if you can see this. The garden is absolutely full of butterflies and moths and bees. You can kind of see here the cucumber's gotten a little out of hand as well. So between the cucumber and loofah, I'm just giving up on it and letting it do its own thing. Now, I don't know if I showed you this before I left, but this is a little pumpkin patch square that I made. And we now have 2 giant pumpkins. Let's see if you can see the other one in the back there. I saved some seeds. And I gotta get this off the ground somehow. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that. We've got another little pumpkin down there as well. That's kind of cool. I'm hoping we can actually use some of these pumpkins for our wedding ceremony. That would be really cool. So that's where I am now with the garden. Basically, I'm just trying to keep up with picking everything that's ripe and figuring out what to do with it all. We basically got super overwhelmed when we came back from vacation, and the amount of tomatoes that were ripe was very overwhelming. I spent like 3 days, a few hours each day, just going through and picking out all the ripe tomatoes. I've had my mom come out and help me. I've had Alex come out and help me. And I'm looking around the garden right now, and there's still a ton to be picked. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.